Hello everyone, my name is Delvin Adityo Hidayat and this is my multimodal literary narrative. In this presentation, I want to share how my English developed through different experience, people, media, and digital spaces. Instead of a straight timeline, I'm focusing on the moment and artifacts that shape the way I communicate today. My English journey wasn't built only in classroom. It grew from a combination of influences like early learning environment, teachers, family, movie, and even meme culture. All of these pieces form different layers of my identity. In this narrative, I want to explore how each layer contributed to the way I use and understand English now. My first encounter with English was when my mom brought me to an English course called EF in second grade. That was the first time I got to know English and slowly start talking in English, even though I'm still new to it. I get to meet some new friends there, but unfortunately I'm only there for 2 years when I stopped because it was so expensive. From there, I started to enjoy the English subject until now. It was my favorite subject of all time. When I'm finishing my English test, because I feel like I have achieved something that I always loved. Until now, I feel like one of the things that I have still in something I love is still English, and I will try to make sure that I still love English in the future. My biggest inspiration for developing my English identity is one of my favorite teachers in high school, named Miss Isha. She is my favorite English teacher whom I love getting taught by her because how fun she is when teaching. Not to mention that I always get information about an English competition from her. She is always so supportive with other students who respect her. The other person who is inspiration is my cousin who is also a student at UNISA as an English literature student who just graduated. She's the reason why I want to follow in her footsteps as an English literature student. She gave me some insight to make this gonna teach me, and for me, that's something that I'm willing to do in my future. One of my media artists that really shaped my English was the movie Rush Hour. It was the first time I saw how English sound and different across races and communities. I noticed how African American characters talk so fast with their own rhythm and slang. It made me realize that English wasn't just a formal version I learned in class, but something living and diverse. But Rush Hour taught me that English doesn't have a single correct way of sounding. The movie showed how culture, background, and identity change the way people speak. Instead of trying to imitate one style, I learned to appreciate the variety of English around the world. Having a lot of supportive friends that can help you a lot on improving English, and that's why I'm putting them as my artifact. They always been so supportive, whether they don't mind if our pronunciation is a bit off, or they help me fix my mistakes so I can be better. It's always so soothing to talk with them and with mixed and English and Indonesian to know that they're as comfortable as I am. Meme pages also played an important role how I learned English. Even though they look casual, meme taught me a lot about slang, humor, and timing. I learned how meaning can change based on context, tone, and share cultural knowledge. Through memes, English felt more playful and relatable. Another important part of my English journey was joining English clubs. From elementary school until high school, I consistently chose to be part of English clubs because I believed they could strengthen my skills. This club became a space where I could practice English, listening, and performing in English outside of regular classroom lessons. Being in English club helped build my confidence over time. I was surrounded by people who were also learning, which made mistakes feel more acceptable. The activities pushed me to use English actively rather than just study it. Because of this, English became something that I used naturally, not something I was afraid of. As I kept learning English, I realized that my Indonesian identity always came with me into every conversation. The way I speak, the way I choose words, and even how polite I am often reflect where I've come from. I don't speak English the same way people in movies, and that's okay. Online spaces added a new layer to my identity. On Discord or meme pages, I use English differently, more casual, fast, and something mixed with slang. This identity grew from interacting with friends overseas and learning how to express humor, reaction, and emotion in an online community. But even with all this experience, I still struggled a lot with overthinking when I tried to speak my mind went blank because I was worried about the grammar or choosing the wrong words. I felt pressured to sound perfect, and that fear made it harder to communicate. It's one of the big challenges of my English. When I start talking with people from different countries, I experience what GICC calls cultural forms. Sometimes the English they use felt completely unfamiliar to me. At first it was confusing, but those moments actually pushed me to understand how culture shaped the way people communicate. Over time, I realized my English identity is not just one piece; it's a mix of different influences. The hybridity makes my communication style flexible. I can shift between formal English, casual online English, or something in between, depending who I talk to. The biggest turning point for me was realizing that everyone's still learning, no matter how good they sound. Once I understood that, I stopped comparing myself too much and slowly reduced my overthinking. Instead of focusing on being perfect, I focus on expressing myself clearly. Now, I see myself as someone who can communicate cross culture with confidence. I still make mistakes, but they don't stop me by the way they used to. My English has become part of my identity, shaped by school, media, and digital community. And instead of being afraid of error, I see them as a sign that I'm still growing. Thank you so much for listening to my narrative. The artifacts and concepts I use from movie, Discord, and meme, and the JCC series represent the different layers of how I learned English. The journey showed the language is never just about grammar, it's about people, identity, and the experience that we carry throughout our life.